Now it's time for the true favorite level of everyone who's played this game. Treetops.
Can you explain to me again what exactly is so despised about this level?
It's a lot of nostalgia for people who are not good at video games. Who, it's mainly it. It's a lot of childhood trauma.
So
I think
there's
mostly
one
it.
specific jump that you have to do. That's incredible.
There is one dumb jump, but everyone's like, Treetops is the worst level in platformer history.
So,
and it's just
It's
you're,
the worst
you're
level.
bad
It's
at
the
it.
worst level in the game, but
And this, yeah, sure, but it's not. It's not as bad as everyone wants to say.
The level, for the most part's fine. It's the one jump because you have to do. So there's the supercharge ramps, right?
yeah,
that
you have to
go
do
down.
like you have to do a bunch of weird supercharged jumps that isn't really obvious because the arrows. You basically have to go against the arrows.
And
to
one of
do
them
it.
requires you to turn like 180 degrees around in midair.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
You'll see it when you get to it, but as trying to. There's like this one island way far out in the distance, and you need to do a giant supercharged jump in order to get to it. And trying to figure out how the hell you're supposed to do it, especially without a guide, is infuriating.
Basically, trial and error.
See, I thought that was cool though, because when I was a kid, it was like, how do I get there? And just eluded me for years until I found out, oh, that's how you do it. But that's just, that's being a kid without easy internet. You just never knew.
Yeah, I think I spent about a half an hour trying to get to that stupid island, and then I gave up because I was like, I've got better things to do with my life than spend 3 hours trying to get to the island and treetops. Alright. No thanks. And to be fair, they kind of try to hint how you're supposed to do it, because if you start the level, then there's the thief guy, and he runs in the direction that you're supposed to go.
Yeah, if you follow him the second you see him, he guides you.
But the thing is that if you lose him, then sucks to be you. You don't get.
Because
that
you're actually trying to get everything.
And, you're trying to play the level like you normally would.
Yeah.
Then you missed your shot, and he doesn't like go back to the beginning of the level for you to try to follow him again. He's just stuck on the island, as far as I'm aware. So, yeah.
It's not good game design, but it's a pure nostalgia thing. Whether you like it or hate it, it's pure nostalgia.
Yep. One of those things you're kind of just stuck dealing with no matter how many times you play the game.
Yeah. Looks really cool though.
Oh, when you do
Like
the
I'm
jump,
talking about graphical upgrades, like it looks amazing.
if you want to talk about like actually getting it done, it is impressive to watch someone actually do it correctly.
Yeah.
But, it's just like, it sucks trying to do it yourself.
Yeah, one of those speedrunners can do it really well and make it look impressive. You try to do anything even close to that, and you're just flying off.
I think it's interesting to think about because a lot of players really like it when a game allows them to do weird, jumpy tricks like that to get places, but when it's required to do something, that's a different story.
I mean, it's technically not required.
The Sonic fan base?
Huh?
Well, it's more so the ability to get creative, but not force you to do something that the game might not necessarily expect you to do.
It's
Well,
not.
I think that's what Ant was getting at, is that it's technically not required. You're just doing it for completionist purposes. Is that fair to assume?
Yeah.
I mean, you could say that
for
about
any completionist, a platformer, you want to collect everything. So in our minds, it's required.
Well,
But
it's
technically-
around what I was saying is like it's not like you have to do it to just exit the level.
Yeah.
No, but
You
at the same time, that's the kind of game this is.
Yeah, for sure.
So
If you are only playing Spyro to get the bare minimum and get to the end, it's kind of an unfulfilling experience by design, really.
It's pretty damn short.
yeah.
Well, how do you feel about games that are designed that way, though? How do you feel about games where you have to pretty much collect everything just to get something out of it?
Well, it depends on the game and how much they want you to do. For example, I'm not the biggest fan of Super Mario 64, but I do feel like just getting 70 stars and getting to the end of that game is a satisfying enough experience that I don't feel cheated out of not finishing the entire game, if that makes sense.
Because most of the things in that game are, aside from basically the 100 coins, are unique to that star challenge.
It just matters. It just matters on the style of platformer. When you have a game like this that's a sandbox and there's a ton of stuff to collect, as opposed to Mario, which is objective based.
Yeah. Or even Banjo-Kazooie, where it's like, yeah, you need to get all the stuff to progress, but they just feel like stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think Banjo-Kazooie 1's biggest problem is that so much of it is required, because there's 100 jiggies in that game to collect, but
Yeah.
you need, like, what, 93 in order to beat the game?
And you need to get a lot, and you get like little less than 100 under the max node total, so basically no one runs any percent because there's no point.
Yeah, it's like, the big problem with it is that it's like, okay, technically there is optional stuff, but, like, why would you bother, you know, because it's like, you basically have to do everything anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an argument to be said for going too far the other direction, but if your stuff feels like stuff, making it optional just feels kind of annoying.
I feel
I mean, like, platformers are like my favorite genre, so I'm used to seeing games that just throw every possible thing they ever could have possibly thought of at you and just seeing if you could overcome some of their wacky BS challenges.
I'm more talking about
that's just
collectible stuff, because if it's just
yeah, but
throwing-
that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. When you look at the challenge for this collectible is doing crazy super ramp stuff. So as there's a platformer fan, I'm used to them being like, oh yeah, you just got to do this one thing. Oh, you can't do it. Oops.
That was a
timing.
That was a well
timed really well.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, in Spyro's instance, this is like the only part of the game that's like this. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no other part of the game that feels this BS to try to.
There's one more supercharged thing that's kind of you got to really search for where you got to jump to, but
Oh,
that's
where?
nowhere near this bad.
In the castle one in
Like
Greenway.
Lofty Castle.
Yeah. That one's kind of BS.
Actually, the only other thing out of Spyro 1 and 2 that I found hard to find was, and this is just something that's, you know, because of the remake, is in Spyro 2, actually, I think it was the second hub world. I found it really annoying to try to get to the ceiling because there's a breakable wall you have to find. And in the remake, it's a lot less obvious that that wall's breakable than in the original. So I was like, how do I get up there? And then I asked, and it's just like, oh, there's a breakable wall here. And it's just like, I didn't notice that. This game looks too good. Damn it, Toys for Bob. You ruined Spyro. The worst game ever. 0 out of 10. I'm joking. It's not.
And now's the time you have to start doing some really
There
tricky
you
jumps
go.
to get to 2 points. So go down
Yeah,
here.
we were talking about. I just remember like restarting the level a bunch so I can keep following.
Holy.
Which is, again, not good design. There it is. There it is.
Yep.
That's
stuff.
That was pretty crazy. Yeah.
How many tries did that take you?
I forget what my life total was.
Well, I don't mean to brag, but 56.
I game over trying to do it.
No, I didn't game over. I think I lost a good 6 or 7 lives, but it didn't take me that long. Mostly because, again, I know what to do.
Well, from looking at it, my problem with that sort of thing is that the route is so clearly all over the place.
Yeah, you have to go against the arrows, which is the big thing.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Well, going against the arrows is one thing, but it's also remembering what specific ramps to land on to continue your momentum.
Yeah, that was.
And it's definitely crazy for crazy's sake because that platform didn't need to be there.
No,
That-
it exists purely to
It's
let
a
you
very
do that.
arbitrary challenge.
It is. It is not a remotely intuitive path to be taking.
There you go. There we go.
Holy hell.
There we go. Look at him go.
Treetops
Gotta go
more
fast.
like
Gotta go
treetops
faster,
is
faster.
gameplay, yeah.
Ah, stop,
And then
stop.
you fall
Ooh.
right off and you gotta do it again.
Wow. You know something? Insomniac might just have made a good Sonic game before Sega did.
Good stuff.
Yeah, fuck video games.
I'm glad that we've all reached this conclusion together.
Spyro Reignited was the last video game ever made.
Yeah.
And we all just collectively just
And it
gave
wasn't
up.
even original. It was a remake of PS1 games.
I love it when that kind of shit happens, because when people edit the Wikipedia pages for most recent releases, it just looks really stupid. It's like first game,
Nice.
Spyro 1, most recent game, Spyro 1, like 20 years later.
What?
Or my favorite with Resident Evil 2 remake that just came out. First game, Resident Evil 1996. Most recent game, Resident Evil 2 2019. What?
I'm so glad that
What
it
a
finally
gap,
got a
Jesus.
sequel. You know, it's
Yeah,
about
I know,
time that
it's like,
Resident Evil
finally.
got some love, right?
Capcom has been listening to their fans.
Dude, Final Fantasy VII is finally going to come out at some point.
and then so
No, it won't.
and then you get the same, and then you get that kind of thing with like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and it actually is that long of a gap between games. I'm looking forward to that game like nothing else, and I haven't even finished the first one yet. Ugh.
Here's our boss for the this world. Oh, okay,
This is
thank
the
you.
robot guy, right?
okay.
I liked this
Yeah.
guy.
Metalhead.
Metalhead?
No, that's
Yeah,
Turtles.
he's okay. No, that's his name, Metalhead.
Jack and Daxter.
That too, yes.
Ooh.
Why is it always Metalhead? Why isn't it always? Why isn't any like? Why is there no one like with Porcelain Head?
Because porcelain's a really bad
Porcelain
thing to
head?
make a robot out of.
It's also a really bad thing
I think if we trademark that, we have a boss for our game.
It's a really bad thing to construct your skull out of, let's say. Okay?
No, we can't use Plastic Man because DC already has the copyright on that.
Wait, they made a hero called Plastic Man?
Oh yeah, there's Plastic Man, and then they bought a old Golden Age hero called the Elongated Man without realizing they already had a stretchy guy.
The elongated man?
Yeah.
That sounds fake.
No, that's real. He's a real character.
Well, hold on. They didn't. God, I don't remember.
They reference that
what
in the
comic
Justice.
book-
They reference it in the Justice League cartoon.
Oh, it was Justice League. That's right. That's right. It was like there's two people with the almost the exact same powers.
Yeah, Plastic Man and Elongated Man.
Yeah.
And they bring along Man. He's like, sorry, Plastic Man, we don't need two stretchy guys.
I wonder if Reed Richards ever had to deal with something like that.
Well, he's too busy destroying the Marvel universe.
Very true.
He hasn't done that in like a week, alright? Cut the guy's...
I don't get it. What?
Reed Richards screws things up more often than he really helps.
Oh.
Which sucks because he's like actually the smartest guy in the universe, but he doesn't really
Oh, no.
help very much.
Well, that's why
Who's the real Doctor?
That's why I'm going to be horribly disappointed in Endgame if the teaser thing at post credits isn't just the portal opening, Reed walking out. If you thought Thanos was bad, get a load of me.
For real though, they can keep Reed. If they just give us Doom, I'll be happy though, because he's like,
I'd rather the entire MCU just take a break after Endgame, which I know they won't do.
nah.
Oh, they've already listed they have the 5-year plan.
I know. But still.
I
Never gonna stop.
want them to
We
at
need-
least get to...
You should just tweet at them and be like, why don't you guys stop making money
I
for a
want
little
them
Hey,
bit?
to
man,
at
you know-
least get to Kamala Khan before they take a break. Because...
I mean, as long as the movies are still good, like, that's the most.
Yeah, but I think
important thing.
there's still a very real risk of burnout.
Oh, there absolutely
mean?
is.
Yeah.
I'm going to be taking a break after Endgame. No one else will.
Especially after Endgame. I think you've been spending so long building up to that, and then when it's finally over, I mean, everything else just feels like
You see,
whether
the thing is, we
intentionally
say
or
that, but
otherwise.
the new
it feel-
Spider-Man movie looks pretty good.
Yeah, I know, but see, that's ultimately the problem, though, isn't it?
Ultimate
It's like,
Spider-Man?
yeah.
Ultimately.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Amazing pun.
Let's
Amazing.
not use the Ultimate Universe though, because
The
90% of it is garbage.
the thing is, like, I haven't been actively watching the Marvel Universe, so I'm not really burnt out at all.
That's also the. I think Lewis makes a good point though, because that's also kind of the case with most people. They don't watch all the movies. They watch the
I know
ones with
tons
the
of people who watch all of them.
Well, yes, that's true.
And they,
There are
and,
lots
they
of
throw
people
and they
who-
throw so many of them, it's hard to tell which one's which.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
sometimes.
true, but there are also a lot of people who be like, "Oh,
I like the look of this
I
one.
like
I'll
Captain
watch this
America,"
one now.
and they won't watch Thor. You know?
Yeah, I'll be like, I like the look of this one. I'll watch this one now. I sort of like the look of this one. I'll put it on my bucket list. That's the kind of response that I generally get. Like, I haven't watched Captain Marvel yet. It's on my list. I'm not really super inclined to get to it tomorrow, but I'll probably get to it in a few months.
Yeah, and then there are people who will watch Endgame and be like, "Oh, I like Ant-Man. I might watch his movies later," you know, and that kind of
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't care for Ant-Man in the comics, but that's more because I haven't read it
Well,
much
that's
of him.
Ant-Man's kind of a.
Well-
depending on what Ant-Man you're
So-
talking about.
Well, they use the good Ant-Man in the MCU.
Yeah.
They use Hank Pym in the Hank
Hank
Pym.
Pym is an absolute turd.
That's what I like about the movies is that in the movies they also make Hank Pym an absolute turd. Like, not as much of a turd as in the comics, because he's like an actual despicable human being in the comics, but he's like a gigantic asshole, and you're not really supposed to like him. So, in the movies. So, you know, that works.
That makes it sound like if they were to actually handle the Punisher well.
Well, I didn't watch Punisher on Netflix, but I liked him. He was the best part of Daredevil
I haven't
season
watched
2.
his show on Netflix either yet. Unsurprisingly, the news that they would be canceling Netflix shows for the Marvel Universe kind of killed my enthusiasm for things, because it's like, okay, if I watch the next season, I'm going to get like probably an incomplete storyline that I now know is not going to be resolved. It's like, you know, I've felt that pain before. I don't want to feel it again.
Well, did you attempt to watch Daredevil at the very least?
I haven't seen season 3 yet.
Season 3 yet? Okay, well, I think the good thing about, well, I can't speak for Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, but one thing I've noticed with like Daredevil and Punisher is that each season can be relatively self-contained. Like, there are a few things sprinkled there that they could work with the future season, but for the most part, everything that happens in that season is resolved within that season.
But you know, that was kind of half the problem with Daredevil season 2, was that it was mostly set up for other things. Like, oh, we're setting up Elektra.
Well, because they were setting up Defenders.
We're setting up the Hand. We're setting up Punisher, and I haven't watched Punisher yet. So, and then the Defenders ends on a note that's supposed to set up Daredevil season 3. So
yeah, which happened, you know. So I think that still works out.
Yeah, but then
it only works out because they got season 3.
But then because they were and then the other thing about Daredevil season 2 was that it was also setting up Wilson Fisk for season 3, and I get the feeling that I'm not going to see the Wilson Fisk storyline resolved in season 3.
Without spoiling anything, it does.
It does? Oh,
you
okay.
know, yeah.
In that case,
again,
good.
It helps that though they're already out and they follow on each other, but like, you know, it's still.
Yeah. I just, you know, have a bitter taste in my mouth about the whole thing. It's like everyone was saying,
do you think Spyro's favorite
they actually
superhero
made
is?
Iron Fist good now, and then canceled.
Wait, when did they make Iron Fist good?
Season 2. It was
Wow. Okay.
Apparently, it was a major course correction for the entire series. That's the.
I'm surprised and
You know
impressed.
that everything you did in season 1, do the exact opposite of that.
So what do you get him? Iron feet? No. Keep the fist.
Well, you know, I'm not
still.
surprised that Iron Fist continued on to be decent, because Iron Fist was decent in Defenders. You know.
Well, where he's not the focus at all.
Well, it's
he's
also that like.
for what I saw, he was just not the character from the comics, where in the comics he's like a snarky wise ass. So I suppose trying to make him somewhat different from the rest of the Marvel universe, also being snarky wise asses, might not have been a terrible idea in concept, but you know.
The thing is, he starts off Defenders as a character who's pretty flawed, and he has an arc of development, mostly through his interaction with Luke Cage. So by the end of Defenders, he's grown as a character, and
Lewis and Ted will have
their
their Netflix MCU podcast coming soon.
We tried to do that
Spyro
once
Lore is
forever.
crazy
We
right
tried
now.
to do that actually, like forever ago.
Yeah,
but we
we
didn't
did.
finish because we got distracted. I don't really remember
So,
by what.
Shiny object.
I don't
But we
remember
did
what.
like one episode of not Luke Cage, one episode of Daredevil, and one episode of Jessica Jones, and then we stopped. So
Yeah, and there was no sense releasing either of those unless we actually went ahead and finished it, so it never saw the light of day.